now.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you all. Wasn't that a weekend? Oh my God. That was an incredible event.
A great weekend at the Conscious Crypto event. I'm just going to delete that. That's my WhatsApp popping in there. Yeah, it was awesome. And we had such good feedback from everybody ready for the super cycle. And Teresa, we predicted this would happen based on the full moon. And right as we went into the full moon, boom. Everybody who went to the event knew that that was going to happen today.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing stuff discussed at that event, actually. In spite of the fact that I was one of the facilitators and one of the teachers, I learned a lot.
Yes.
From some of the other speakers. So that was cool, actually, when even the most advanced speakers on the call are like, wow. So thank you, everyone who participated. The good news is we raised quite a bit of money for roads. So we've got road construction starting in the next, well, they're already laying down gravel to get it going. So, so yeah, really cool. Thank you, everyone who participated. We really appreciate you guys.
We totally do. And good news, as Bitcoin has broken the all-time high and is in price discovery, and Ethereum is close to getting to its all-time high, XRP starting to take off, SHIB has started to go up. What we're going to be focusing on today is where is the top? Where would the retracement be for Bitcoin? And we're going to look at Ethereum, XRP, and SHIB very, very carefully. Oh, wow, we've got lots of people saying hi. Yeah, I guess you're all here because you want to know what's going on, right?
I know, price discovery, like that's something to celebrate, right? Broke the all-time high. So lots to celebrate this morning, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to look at the macro of the technical analysis for Bitcoin in a moment. But I want to show you this because, again, we have been following this fractal that has been playing out the exact same way it played out in 2020. And so far, it's been fairly accurate with a few minor differences, but pretty much the pattern we've been following. So can that give us a little clue as to how far we're going to go before we get a retracement? So I am talking about Saturn went progressive. Last year, 2020, it went progressive. The 28th, we came down a little bit and then we took off. This year, 2021, we came into being into progressive the 10th and the 11th. Saturn came out of retrograde, then Mercury came out of retrograde, and literally right here down in 2020, see this big green candle? That's where we're at in 2021, where we took off without a significant retracement until we got to here, and that ended up only being a 16% retracement. Then we kept going up until we got to here. This was around about a 30% retracement, I think, but we went up 229% before getting that big significant retracement. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because if your mindset is waiting for the dip to get in, I don't know if we're going to get it, right? There are indicators saying we're way overdue. Shorts are going in, but sometimes shorts get liquidated, don't they, Teresa?
Yeah, it happens. So, that's the one thing, Bitcoin's predictable and then it's unpredictable at the same time, right? It's often on those short-term horizons that it doesn't perform the way we think it should for a currency, right? So it's really important to pay attention to this stuff. This is exciting though, because once we broke that all-time high, it might come back down to the all-time high to retest it as support. I think that's a key place in the market that a lot of people are looking at. Is it going to retest the all-time high as support? But sometimes when it breaks out, it doesn't come back down and retest. It might just start going up. So, it's a key day to be watching the markets. That's for sure.
And we have been talking about the super cycle. That's why we did a 3-day event that ended on Sunday so that everybody would be ready for this, that have their trades in. We've been talking about this week for months, and we said last week, this week we could see the big breakout, and we've seen it. So what I want to do is show you what happened last year as we came out of Saturn retrograde to see what the actual retracement percentages were. And I'd like for you to write these down so you can manage your expectations around that. Have I got the right chart? No, that's right, because I'm on the 4 hourly. Let me get the Ichimoku out. I had this all set up, but every time you switch from one chart to the other, we get a little bit of a change. Oh, all of those percentages have gone, Teresa. This is what I'm saying. It's like I'm doing stuff I'm putting stuff on my charts and then it's just disappearing.
Yeah. Are you on the same derivative, the same Bitcoin derivative you were on last time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's too bad because it was really nicely laid out for you guys.
Yeah, so I'm just going to have to do it here. Yeah. Have a look at this. From Mercury coming out of retrograde here, that was around about it was a 298% move to the upside without a significant retracement. Excuse me. So the first time we got the retracement, it was around about 18%, 18.5%. Now I'm saying this because if you're in trades, Teresa, and we're going into price discovery and you're in profit more than 20%, 30%, 40%, this is what I've done. Would you put in a trailing stop loss so that as it goes up, you're always 20% under the price, so that if we do get a retracement, just a small one, you still stay in the trade and can make it all the way to the top, like reach it all the way to the top?
Yeah, as soon as you're 20% in profit, a 20% trailing stop loss would make sense, or even a 30% trailing stop loss if you're worried it might have a bigger retracement at some point.
Yeah.
But you could hold this trade open for a while now. I think the indicators are in the market that we're going to see it. It's really important to remember the news tonight, like especially if you're in the North American time zone. If you're in Europe, the evening news is going to be hitting in just a couple hours here.
Yes.
It's going to be all over the world. Bitcoin hits a new all-time high. That's going to be the lead story on the business segment of the news, right?
Yep.
So that is going to push the price discovery upwards because I don't even know I'm trying to think of the name for it, but the non-institutional new late adopters, retail purchase. Thank you. The retail traders are all going to start coming in and like my daughter was mentioning this to me on WhatsApp a few hours ago. She's like, because she's like me, been investing in crypto for a while. She says, my coworkers are all asking me if they should buy Bitcoin this morning. And I'm like, yeah, well, that, because we've hit the all-time high, right? And she's like, but sometimes that's a signal that you should sell. And I'm like, not in this case. Yeah. In this case, it's just a signal that we're about to have all the retail buyers come in en masse, right? When everybody in every coffee shop is now talking about Bitcoin, then we're probably getting close to the top, right? Yeah. But expect to get lots of questions from your family and friends when it's on the news tonight.
Yeah. So we've got a bull flag forming potentially here for Bitcoin. I mean, normally when we break the all-time high, we go into price discovery. We could be in price discovery, Teresa, all week. Remember at the event, we had a numerologist and she said the 22nd is going to be a really important day to watch. We could get a massive pump. So at the moment, we've had, I wouldn't call this a massive pump, right? This is just a bull flag pole, right?
It's just a breakout, yeah.
That's just 5%, right? That's not a big pump. That's 5%. So in the next couple of days, we could shoot to the moon. Now, write this down. This bull flag, if this bull flag plays out, depending on where it breaks out, you're looking at around 69,882. I think I've got a take profit at 69,700. Because sometimes we fall short here. I'm taking a limit, take profit, and then I'm leaving 25% of the trade in to ride it to the top. And if we get a consolidation, like if we do something like this over the next week, boom, we break out, come back down, do a bit of a consolidation, and then create another bullish pattern and go up, you can enter the trade again here. But if you've taken profit and we actually don't do that, we actually come back down to bounce off of here, or come back under the all-time high, create consolidation, and then come back up. You've taken all of that profit off the table And so, you know, you're not going to be kicking yourself that you didn't take profit before it dumped, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, right? I think a lot of the indicators are saying we're on our way up. That doesn't mean it's going to go straight up. So we got to learn that, you know, what are the solid entry points here, and where do we want to come in if you're not already in a trade. If you're already in a trade, I'd keep it open though. Like, you know, this is looking good.
Yeah. Golden ratio is sitting at around about 87,892, where I've taken it from the swing low at the beginning of the bull market to the previous all-time high. So that is obviously where we're going. There's resistance around 69,900, which is just above here, 70,000, and resistance around 74,000. Once we get above 80,000, I think it is, there's, like, in terms of the Fibonacci levels, sorry, once we get above this Fibonacci level, the golden ratio, it's blue skies, baby. Like, it's blue skies all the way to 120 without previous historical resistance at those Fibonacci levels.
So it'll be important to see what's happening in the news when that happens, right? It'll either bounce down off that level, and, you know, because we could get a retail buyer frenzy here, like it's very possible that happened. But if the news is constraining, then we might bounce back down off that level, right? So this is just going to be like, you know, sit back and watch the ride. We're going to be updating you frequently on this, on what's happening here, because it's going to be dynamic. That's all I want to say. It's going to be dynamic, but I think in general, we're on the way up, folks. It's looking really, really good. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So I'm just going to go over to the chat here and say hi to everyone. Hi, Kelly. Best weekend I've had in a long time. Yeah, it was. It was really, really awesome. Awesome. Hi, Ras Negus and Romy, welcome. Bitcoin in Arabic. Oh, wow, that's really awesome. Yeah. And I think you put in that you're further down, you put in that you're going to be shorting at, let's have a look, what did you say?
Shorting at 688.70. Well, that's kind of interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that not something I'd recommend, truthfully. Yeah. Especially if you're looking at the Ichimoku cloud and some of the other things going on in the market. But that having said, let us know how it goes. Yeah, because totally. You know, nobody can predict what's happening here, right? All we can do is watch what's happening and react. That's really what a solid trader, we talked about this a lot at the weekend. Nobody can predict. All we can do is watch what's happening and react. Yeah. Right. And so a good trader is reacting more than they're trying to predict, right? So the really conservative move here is to wait to see if it comes down and reconfirms the all-time high as now a support level. And when it bounces upward, that would be the most conservative trade, is to put a long in at that point.
But if you're shorting, it's this. I think you have to be very careful with shorting too short, because it is like all of the indicators are, in terms of, you know, the astrology, the numerology, the technicals, is that we could go to 70,000 or 74,000 before we get a retracement, which means you're sitting in a loss, and shorts could get liquidated. If any of you have been trading shorts when we get to tops of the market, when we go into price discovery, guessing the short, people get liquidated and they lose. It's like we want to look for weakness in the chart. We want to look for a pattern that says this is a top, like we want to see an M, or we want to see a bearish flag, or we want to see massive bearish divergences on the shorter time frames, like the 1 hour and the 30 minutes. We do have a bearish divergence on the 4 hour, but that's been there for days, right?
Yeah, and I'm not seeing any bearish divergences in this RSI when we look at the 1 hour. So the 68,000, I don't know, there's nothing significant about that level. I'd be curious though, what has you want to trade that level? Like maybe you're seeing something we're not, so feel free to type it in the chat. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything that would have me want to take a risk on a short at this point, especially given, you know, something important to consider is the nightly news is going to be reporting Bitcoin hits an all-time high all across the globe. So that's going to be kicking in almost hourly, depending on what time zone cities are coming on. And so that could give us a pump up effect, right? A consistently, hey, Bitcoin just hit an all-time high. There could be retail buyers jumping in to buy more Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin in Arabic is saying is if you use fib speed resistance, you will see when we meet 6 to 18 line in this point.
Teresa, I've seen that tool, and that tool is really helpful and it's great, but it gets invalidated a lot. Like it's not as reliable as a pattern and all of the trend reversal signs. I would use it as an indicator to watch at that level, look at what's happening on the price action, look to see if we're starting to get resistance, if we're starting to have a slowdown. But using that on its own to short during price discovery, I personally would not do that. I would need to have some other confirmation, just because I've seen this before. We saw this at 65,000 when we went into price discovery. Remember, Teresa? And then a whole lot of people got their shorts liquidated.
Yeah,
boom, just like that.
It's really, really important to remember when you're in price discovery that a lot of the normal probabilities of how we expect the charts to perform will not perform that way, because as soon as we're in price discovery, we've got a lot of retail buyers in the game.
FOMOing in.
Right? Yeah. FOMOing in. There's a ton of FOMO in as soon as we're in price discovery, which on the one hand, as a trader, you can trade that FOMO, but the normal probabilities where we would expect, and if you read Thomas Bulkowski, I actually have his book propping up my computer, so I'm going to wobble for a minute. Like, this is one of the best studies. Bulkowski actually studies probabilities of all patterns trading in all different directions. If you want to go check out his website, it's thepatternSite.com. And he studies not only crypto, Forex market, commodities market, stock market, etc. So his statistics go across multi-markets, right? Yeah. But if you dive deep into his work, he'll talk about the probabilities we normally see change under certain environments. Correct. Like, for example, if we're trading a major triangle and that triangle fakes out or does a U-turn, Bulkowski calls that a busted pattern, but in the crypto market, we often call it either fake outs or failed patterns. But the probability of that pattern succeeding now in the opposite direction increases by about 10%, right? And some of these things, these analysts like Bulkowski who study these probabilities say when you're in price discovery, a lot of the normal probabilities are no longer applying how you would normally expect the market to perform, because now we have a flood of retail investors coming in, right? Yep. So personally, let us know how the short goes. That's interesting. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole personally. I don't trade against the dominant trend. And in price discovery, the dominant trend is up. Yeah. So until you see a head and shoulders or a really clear divergence on the RSI, an Ichimoku that's now giving you warning signals or whatever, and even then, I might get out of my longs, but I don't know whether I would short, because price discovery is not as predictable as normal chart patterns.
Yeah. And if you have a look at the pattern that we have been following pretty concisely pretty precisely from 2020, when we came out of Saturn retrograde, is we did not get that pullback for a couple of weeks. And when we did, it was only 16%. So I'm not saying that we couldn't pull back, we could, but in my experience, let's have a look at the top here.
You got your numbers back. They're back.
Yeah, I figured out what I'd done. Okay. So if we have a look here, we came up, to set an all-time high here, and then we came back down. But look how long we went. We went for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days without a big pullback. These were only little scalp pullbacks that you might not have caught, because they would have been really fast, the fast trading when it just drops by, 2%, 4%, and 11 days before we dipped. And then the same here, we came up, no significant retracement. So what we want to get across to you is that the rules by which we have been trading while we've been coming out of the doldrums, right? Out of the doldrums, reestablishing a higher low, and then taking up here, those rules go out of the window or to the side, and you have to look very closely at the charts and all of the trend indicators, not just one, to find out where we're going to start hitting the resistance and topping out. And I've given you levels. I think the other thing is that I haven't got this line in here, which was the big pattern that we were in for so many, 2.5 months it was. We've broken out of that pattern, came back down and kind of retested this here as support. And so that is going to take us up to 83,367. So I've mentioned the areas where we're going to hit resistance. We've got a flagpole that takes us over what you were saying is the Fibonacci time. So we might just wick up there and come back down. But I would definitely be wanting to use lots of other indicators. So let's just go back down into the 1 hour. Let's talk about people who aren't already in trades, Teresa.
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about at the Conscious Crypto event on the weekend, I walked people through a whole exercise so you could see the math on why lower leverage trades actually make you more money. And they also involve a lot less risk when you're doing, like you can do better risk management when you're controlling your leverage at low levels. So, and the main point we were talking about there is that experienced traders aren't telling you to lower your leverage because they think you're new. They're telling you to lower your leverage because you make more money on that. And the reason I'm bringing up this point now is when we're in price discovery is not a time to play around with risk. Because on the one hand, we've got a bunch of retail investors rushing into the market because they're all going to be hearing the news tonight. So tomorrow morning, especially, they're going to get to the office, and before they're drinking their morning coffee, they're going to be going to the one guy on the floor in the office and saying, can you tell me how to buy Bitcoin? I understand you have Bitcoin, right? So they're going to get excited. But the retail investors are also a fickle crowd. So if anything happens in the news to scare them, they're like Bambi, right? So they come in quick, but they dash quick, and they come in quick and they dash quick. So a lot of the predictabilities we normally deal with in the market during price discovery aren't necessarily as solid. So if you're entering trades, you do want to be entering cautiously. I just really want to emphasize this. For those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about how lower leverage actually makes you more money, you can still buy tickets to the Conscious Crypto event. The recordings are still for sale as a fundraiser for our Rhodes Fund. So when Nicola and I are talking about entry points right now, which we're about to do, I just want you to keep that in mind. These are cautious entry points because price discovery is a fickle thing, even though it's also an opportunity to make a lot of money. Right.
It'll be the Asian Pacific market coming on later on in the early evening for the United States people, and also the European and the UK markets that could, if there was going to be a retracement, they could create a retracement, or they could just take it to the next level, as Teresa was saying, with the retail buyers, because they wake up in the morning to hear it's reaching its all-time high. They don't have to sleep on it. They go to work or talk to their friends in the morning, and by the time we wake up in the Americas, there's a lot that's happened. So the boss baby said, if you see red flags, i.e. signals that we could be heading down, what do you get out of your trade? Not if the overall structure of the trend is bullish, which it is, higher highs, higher lows over the larger time frames. But what I actually did just before we came on board for this event, for this live stream rather, is I saw this green candle retrace. Then I saw this red candle, and I saw it kind of create a top there like that, and I took out some profit. Yeah. So the trade is still open, but I took out some profit. Also, my stop loss is, I think it's at 60, it's just under the previous all-time high. So if we retrace, bounce off, I've got some profit out. I'm still in profit with my stop loss. And if we go below, I'm still in profit if we go below anyway. So that's kind of like what I would do.
Boss Baby's also asking about stop losses. So the answer, basically the question is, do you keep your trade until you hit your stop loss? And do you use a stop loss for spot trades and low leverage trades? Every trader's different on that. Personally, my answer is yes. I actually, at the Conscious Crypto event, I walked through a system for using where you want your stop loss to dictate how big the trade should be and how much leverage you should use, so that you're always taking the identical amount of risk on every trade. And I highly recommend you have a system like that. Just go buy a ticket and watch the recordings of the event if you want that system. But yeah, have a system. So either you're clear in your head where you're going to take the trade out if it isn't succeeding and you're watching the trade, or you are using stop losses to get you out of it if it's.
Like for me personally, I don't use stop losses. I dollar cost average down at the structural level. So that's because I've got experience. That's not necessarily for people who don't know how low it can go, because you can get wicked out. When we first started doing that, Teresa, remember, we got wicked out with that extra wick, but now I know with crypto that can happen. You make sure that you've done all of your levels right. But the theories around stop losses are really kind of depending on what your risk management is and how much you've got in a trade. If it's a smaller trade, right, you can afford to have a really wide stop loss under the golden ratio, which is usually a good place to go. Or you can bring your Ichimoku cloud. You have a look at just under the Ichimoku cloud, because this red line on a green Ichimoku cloud can often act as a what do you call it, a support level. And then you put your Fibonacci's in and you look at structure, and then you look at the shorter term timeframes and you decide on your stop loss. But with Bitcoin, we can retrace a few percent. So if you have tight stop losses, you can get stopped out of a perfectly good trade just on those wicks. And then when you get in higher than what you were at, so you lose that ability to get that profit, right? So putting in tight stop losses isn't always good. However, if you've got a lot of money in there and you're putting in its capital, you're not trading with profit. You want to find that balance between a tight stop loss and a wide stop loss underneath the support level, so you can stay within the trade. But in order to think about what you're doing with the stop losses, you need to zoom out and go, well, where's the trend? So we're looking here and we go, man, we've been going up without a significant retracement. I know there is going to be a retracement coming soon. Here is where the retracement could go to. Here's another place that it could go to. You put your Fibonacci's in, you look at where all the retracements are, and you figure out that where that would be. And as Teresa was saying, sometimes lower leverage, you make more money because you're paying less fees. And if you put in high leverage, you've got high liquidation areas, so you don't get the luxury of being able to just leave the trade in and wait it out, right? Because you're going to get liquidated out before. So all of those things are things we teach in Crypto Ninjas, guys, by the way. So if anybody's interested in that, go over to tradingcryptoninjas.com and check that out. That's my VIP mastermind group.
Part of that too is what's the strategy you're trading. Like, I hold my trades open for long periods of time. I use the Bybit, not the inverse perpetual, but they're the Bybit futures, so that there's no funding fees on those contracts. So I keep my stop losses well back from the price action, because I want to ride out the local dips. But that depends on what your strategy is. You have to determine your strategy, and then your stop loss choices are dictated by the strategy that you're trading and the amount of risk.
The other thing is that we can look at is, was it this one? No, it's here. This is how I did it. Oh, no. You'll see that I don't actually have much in the market because I just took a whole lot of profit out. So I'm waiting to get back in to see what happens. Where is it? Oh, I've lost it. I was looking at the retracement percentages. Yeah, it's gone. Kelly said that's been happening with her charts as well. But anyway, let's just go over it. Reminder, we had a 16% retracement here and a 30% retracement here after a couple of weeks. That, I think, was a 10% retracement. So if you have a look at the percentages that we could retrace based on what's been happening in the past as we started coming up into price discovery up here, and then you come into your current trade, and then you use your tool over here on the left hand side and you measure it and go, well, where would a 15% retracement take me to? It's going to take me to around about this Fibonacci level of 56,909, maybe even hit that, right? And then it could also go down to 24%, which is the golden ratio, 50,564. So you have to decide, am I going to leave this trade open, take profit up here, right? Because I got down here, trading views bugging me, right? If you got down here and you've been riding this all the way up, or if you got down here and you've been riding it all the way up, you might take a big chunk of profit out right now, because we are starting to get a small retracement in case we get a bigger one, and then come back in at these levels. So you wouldn't put a stop loss in here, you would put a buy order in here if you felt confident that we weren't going to go below these levels, right? So again, it's your strategy. What is your strategy and what is your risk management?
Yeah.
Most of my most deceiving losses were also wicks. Yeah, totally. Because here's what can happen. You can get these wicks, like this wick here, for example, right? We fell down. Let me take Ichimoku out so we can see it clearly. We came down and we traded down within the hour, and it was like plummeting, 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 plummeting. If you had to put a short in right there, literally within seconds, boom, it's right back up here, and you would have either got stopped out or liquidated out, right? Because this is what can happen. These wicks can go down and down and down and down. So you can get wicked out if you don't have if you're putting in stop losses and you don't have your stop losses in the right place. So it's kind of like, it's that balance between, I've got a really big trade in, so I might put in a tight stop loss, or I've got a small trade in, so I'm going to put a much wider stop loss in, and or put buy orders in where the stop loss would go, so that you can add to your trade, which is what I've done. I literally only have like about $50 and $100 left in my Ethereum and my Bitcoin trade, because I took some profit here, and I took some profit here, and I took some profit here. And I'm waiting for the retracement to buy back into that trade, if that makes sense. Nicola, after you use a tool, just right click and it will go back to your crosshair. Yeah, I do that. But I've got Mac, so it's like, it's a bit difficult to do the old right click thing when I'm in flow with my speaking. Anything else we want to say on that, Teresa?
No, I think that's pretty solid. We've got a request to look at ADA today too.
Yeah, totally.
So if we have time, we'll do a quick look at ADA.
Yeah.
It's one of our favorite coins. So
ADA's set up for, ADA is at a really good place to long. It's $2.18 and it's already established a lower high, right? So a higher low and a bottom. So that's going to be a little bit different than and often one of the things I like about ADA is that when Bitcoin and Ethereum start retracing, sometimes ADA starts taking off. So we will look at that for you if you want. Ethereum, on the other hand, is all look at that. Ichimoku is a little bit hitting resistance at the moment, but that's a bull flag as well. And we've got a really nice top here where we just keep hitting resistance at around about 4086. So here's another thing. This is to reiterate what I said before. I took profit out here again for the exact same reason. It's hitting the same spot without breaking through, right? So this might not end up being a bull pennant or a bull flag. This might end up being a Bart Simpson, in which case it could come all the way back down to the beginning of where the flagpole is, right? But I think we also have an inverse head and shoulders. Where's that? On the 4 hour, this is in this chart here. On the 4 hour, we have an inverse head and shoulders that that we have broken out of. We've come back down, retested it as support here. Let me take that off for you so you can see it clearly. Bounced off of here, look at that, bounced off, came back up here, had a couple of bullish patterns that we've come up to. So we've got the bull flag in the previous, like this bull flag here, which is a bull flag on the daily. If I went over to the daily, that's 4257 as a target. The inverse head and shoulders is 4506. So if we go below 3641 in a retracement in the next few days, we're breaking structure of a bullish pattern that's in the process of playing out. So I don't know how likely that is, right? If we reach this, then we're in price discovery with Ethereum as well. So if we retrace, it could just only be down to, down here a little bit to create a higher low. Because if we go lower than this neckline, we're breaking the bullish structure that we've got at the moment. And there's no reason why that would happen. We do have a little bit of look at this, Teresa. On the RSI on the 4 hourly, that's kind of neck and neck. So we kind of need to see what's going to go on in the next 4 hours to see if that ends up being a bearish divergence, because we've got a higher high here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll just be waiting to see what plays out there.
Yeah.
And that's a situation where it's that close on the RSI. I'd be looking at the stochastics RSI too, because sometimes we get not sure if it's a divergence on one and it's a clear divergence on the other, or vice versa, clearly not a divergence on the other. So if in doubt, I always look at both.
Yeah.
So
the other thing here is that we've broken out of this triangle, and often when we break to the upside of a pattern, we will come back down to retest that previous resistance as support. So that could bring us down to 38.688, 68.66. However, if we don't and we keep going up, you want to note this for those moments when we just do a free fall and it just keeps falling. It's often coming back to retest a previous resistance line as support that we never did when we were on the way up. Does that make sense? But this is a flagpole that we're waiting for. That is, I've got two different charts here, guys, that I'm flipping between for various reasons. That
takes
a
bull pennant though.
Bull pennant. If it ends up being a bull pennant, at 4318, and then we've got the Fibonacci level at 4377. So we could work up here. So this would be what to watch out for, right? If you are like at this moment, you should be setting up to enter longs in the retracement. And if you want to take the risk of doing doing a trade at this level, then what you would be doing is waiting for a breakout. And I think at the moment, Bitcoin is stealing the show, right? So there'll be a little bit of sideways action here for Ethereum coming up here, and you enter just above where the first time we broke out. I mean, that's the more conservative way rather than trading the breakout and then get in that way. But you must be watching the RSI to see if there are divergences that could U-turn on that trade. And I would put in a small amount with low leverage. And then if it takes off, you can add to margin and add to your leverage. Great. Awesome. Hey, you guys are great today. It's awesome. We love all these questions. So that's Ethereum. And guys, if you're in the Discord server, we're watching this. So go on over to Discord and look up Conscious Crypto and look at our daily technical analysis there. And there's really good engagement there. People asking questions and also sharing. Boss Baby's sharing. Kelly's sharing their charts. Boss Baby's actually getting really good at charting, by the way. Just a shout out to you because you're doing really well. With that. So thanks for
Bitcoin in Arabic is doing kamikaze trades. Whoa.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you're not trading capital and you haven't taken loans out.
If you're using good risk management, more power to you. But if you're a newer trader, I wouldn't try stuff like that. This is really interesting times, guys, because this crypto is going to be all over the news this week. So that is a game changer, right? It's a game changer from the standpoint we've suddenly got a ton of retail investors in. but it's also a game changer from the standpoint of the normal probabilities don't apply. Please do not lose sight of that fact, because retail investors don't necessarily behave the same way. They're more like Bambi. They come in fast, they deer in the headlights fast, right?
Yep.
So just be really conscious of that. That's why we're called conscious crypto traders. Be conscious of what's going on in the market and make your decisions with good risk management, right? And we'd love it if you guys are seeing value in this, if you give us a like on the thumbs up button and hit subscribe on the channel. Yep. We not only do technical analysis on this channel, but we like to do tutorials so you start to understand different principles, right? So a lot of what we're talking about today is the principle of how do you trade differently when you're in price discovery, right? Because that's a concept a lot of traders aren't necessarily familiar with.
Yeah. And we got the same question again, should I short right now? Well, we can't answer that. Number one, we're not financial advisors. Number two, we've got no idea what your risk management strategy is, what your portfolio is, whether you're using capital or whether you're using profit to trade. But generally speaking, guys, you do not short, right? You do not short when we're close to a support line, because we could bounce off, right? We're so close to a support line of an all-time high that we could bounce off. We've got a green candle. It looks like we're going up. Ichimoku is still bullish. There's no sign of letting up here.
If we've got scalpers on the line, the conversation of whether to short is a different conversation. So scalpers are trading really tight time horizons, right? So that's a different inquiry. But most seasoned traders will say, don't trade against the dominant trend, right? So a lot of more experienced traders would not short in a bull cycle in general. A lot of experienced traders also say, do not short while you're in price discovery. Because the risks of not knowing which way the market could go when you're in price discovery, we're in price discovery right now, guys. So that's not a super solid time to short. Plus, we're right above a major support line, the all-time high in the case of Bitcoin, right? So there's a high probability if it comes back down to that it'll bounce off of that. So that the risk to reward ratio on that trade, in my world, would not be good enough, but it's worth it to take the risk. One of the things we talked about a lot at the Conscious Crypto Trader event is that the traders who make the most money understand the skill of patience, right? Understand the skill of when to wait and wait and wait until you pick the moments and you enter at those incredible moments. It's like those superstar athletes that may look like they're, just really still on the field at times, right? Because they're watching for that ideal moment. And then the ideal moment comes and they do the incredible move that everybody talks about for years into history. That's what the legendary traders do. Okay. So if you're constantly in the conversation of should I long, should I short, should I long, should I short? Just notice that and be conscious of should I wait is actually the third option here. And it's actually the more powerful option in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah. On that note, Teresa, I am doing a mindset mastery masterclass for free next week. And the link is at the top of the comment section, because it sounds like you actually need to spend a bit of time on your mindset because it's not sitting at that level of successful traders, right? Because here's the deal, in price discovery, this is where, somebody was talking about the Fibonacci time retracements. This is where Fibonacci levels are helpful, but they are backing up, looking for signs we're topping out because we've had a significant run. We talk a lot about moon cycles. When we keep getting a full moon, we usually pump for a couple of weeks. And then when we get a new moon, we usually either go sideways or come down for a couple of weeks. Full moon was this morning. So we've got a couple of weeks of potential upward price discovery, right? So what we're going to be looking for is an M to say, oh, we're topping out here. We could be heading down. And ideally, the second part of the M would be lower than the first, indicating we've just created a lower high, because at the moment we're creating higher highs. So this is bullish structure. And this is a bull flag. So you don't short a bull flag, you long a bull flag breakout, right? So that's
I see
what
what's causing some of the confusion here, though. And this is where I highly recommend you guys do Nicola's mindset course, because we know 80% of traders lose money. The exchanges that report their statistics, 80% of traders lose money. And it's mostly because people don't know when to wait. That's the main thing. People don't know when to wait. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, can I just finish the thought?
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought you were done. My bad.
No worries. So
Yeah,
the other top patterns, which is what happened in the last all-time high price discovery, are head and shoulders, right? Where we keep getting at a support level here. That's also showing us that we could be topping out. Another top out pattern is the descending triangle. Yeah. Well, there's also the Bart Simpson for sure. Bart Simpson like that. Usually it's a bull flag that goes on and on and on and on, right? And then if it goes on too long without breaking to the upside, it could break to the downside. And we could get that, right? But that's what we've got to watch out for. And then Ethereum, Coach said something about watching the RSI. Yes, absolutely. Watch for the divergences. However, you've got to have other things backing you up. So go ahead, Teresa, you can...
well, I was just going to respond to the RSI because I see a couple of people are putting in the RSI comments, especially on the 4-hour. Let me just speak to that really quickly here. Because I think what people are seeing is this, right? If you look at the general trend upward and we look at this last major peak in the RSI, we could be peaking out below that, right? In which case, when the divergence in the RSI, in other words, we've got higher highs here and it would be lower highs here. When the divergence is in the highs as opposed to the lows, that's bearish. That means we're getting a market correction. If the divergence was in the lows, that would be bullish and it means we're heading upward, right? Here's the thing, guys. We don't know if this peak is done yet. That could just be a little shoulder in this peak. The peak hasn't necessarily hit the top yet. This peak could come all the way up to here before it significantly turns around. So I wouldn't trade that right now as though it's a peak. Like it's not a divergence until we're clear that we're topping out in the RSI. Okay. So I just want to make sure that that point is brought forward, because you're right. Pay attention to that. Like great instincts to watch for that, but we don't know if this is a peak yet. So we're not 100% certain whether that's a divergence or not. Yeah.
The other thing too, Teresa, is you must remember, folks, and that is that when we had the big dump that everybody said, oh, we don't see that coming. Oh, where are we? I'm just trying to share my screen here. That went on for months. We traveled along the RSI in a bearish divergence from February through to June. Right? So a bearish divergence isn't always an indicator that we're going to dump really soon, right? We could go on and on and on when we're in price discovery. Again, what we said right at the beginning, it's like the rules of how we've been playing kind of get pushed to the side, and we have to use a number of indicators. For XRP, I'm looking at this cup and handle here. There's the handle. And there's also a bigger cup and handle. This could also end up being a cup and handle. Ichimoku looks like we're going to be retracing. So let me just take some of that out now and just show you the structure of this. Where are we? Ichimoku, take that out and take the EMA ribbon out. Here, this is what we talked about. A descending triangle is a market, an indication that we're at the top, and we could break down to the downside 60 to 70% more often than we break to the upside. Only this time it looks like we're actually going to break to the upside. But we're right up against resistance here, and we're waiting to see, are we going to come back down into this megaphone that we've been going into, bounce off here, and then come back up and head on up? Is Ethereum and Bitcoin going to drag XRP up, or are we going to come back down again and retest $1.07 or $1.08 or even like $1.10 and then create a higher high? We don't know. We need to watch out. When we look at Ichimoku, the Ichimoku is showing that we're in resistance, right? So we need to wait for a breakout or a break to the downside. So somebody who said, can I short Bitcoin right now? What you would wait for is if you hit resistance, you get a red candle, and then the second candle is red with the RSI looking overbought, right? And other indicators showing that we're heading down, and volume is starting to come in to push the price down. That's when you would enter a short, but you don't enter a short just above a support line. So that's what's going on. But $1.34 and then $1.72, I think, are the price targets for XRP. So this is a good, if you got in here, this is a good trade to just keep open and ride it to the top. Now, we said we would go into Shi Unu, but somebody wanted to look at ADA, which we will do right now, because ADA is in the process of, there we go. It's in the process of creating a bull flag as well, right?
Yeah. And the Ichimoku cloud was looking there like it might be about to flip bullish, which would be cool.
Yeah. So we've been trading kind of sideways for ADA. Let's just have a look at this.
Boy, that's a beautiful pattern, though.
Yeah. That is a symmetrical triangle. We've come into it from the downside, which usually means we go break to the downside. But I'm kind of not thinking that that's going to happen, because if we zoom out, this was the pattern here that we broke out of, and then see how we've got higher highs, and then we've got a higher high here and a higher low, higher low. So this is really bullish structure. So I would say that this is more than likely going to break to the upside in this instance. And we bought in the Ichimoku. Where are we with the support and resistance? Yeah, we're in the middle.
Oh, sorry, I must have read that wrong when you first had it open. I thought it looked like it was about to flip.
But that's on the daily. No, that's on the daily.
Oh, that's the daily.
You might have read it right, because I was on the 1 hourly.
Yeah.
Whenever you start seeing green.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, it looks like it's flipping on the hourly.
It's coming out of resistance and going into bullish territory around here, around about.
I'm glad I'm not losing my mind. Okay.
What's the link for the mindset timing? Oh, it's at the top of the chat, Pam. If you go all the way up to the top of the chat, it's right at the top there. It's the first thing we posted. You might want to copy and paste that for us, darling.
Yeah.
So we got a bull flag here. It looks like all the coins are bull pennants or bull flags, right? So the feeling is bullish. And as we said, we're going to get retail buyers FOMOing in tonight. APAC, they might do something. And then the UK market, more than likely. So that's going to take us to $2.29. And that's going to break us out of this bigger pattern. And that bigger pattern, oh, look at that. See this purple line here, lagging span? It's above the Ichimoku cloud. We just crossed the green above the red. So the conversion line is above the baseline. And we've got green in front of us. So this is looking good for looking for a really good position to put in a long. I mean, the time to long ADA was a while ago. So if you're in one, hold on.
Yeah.
So this breaks to the upside. That's going to take us to $2.62.
Yeah. So again, you'd be waiting and reacting in this case. You wait to see which way the pattern's breaking. If it breaks up, does it confirm what used to be resistance as support? If so, you place the trade, right?
Yeah.
So, and then if it breaks down, you consider whether you want to short. But personally, this isn't a market I would be shorting in, but it's, it's up to you what your risk tolerance is.
Look at this on the 4 hour.
Yeah, really beautiful W there.
That's a bullish pattern, right?
Yeah.
So we've got lots of little places to take profit if you're trading ADA. If you're spot trading, somebody asked you, can you put a stop loss in if you're spot trading? No, you're not using margin, so you don't need to. You only use stop losses when you're trading with leverage and $2.58.54. Yeah, so this is good. I mean, guys,
lots of bullish indicators on ADA right now.
Yeah. This is the, remember this chart here that the crypto ninjas and people who came to our event, and if you're going to get the replays. You'll also get this chart here so you can work on it yourself. We've got 3 months of potential green in order to get where we were at with the other bull cycles, where we had 8 months when we were in the green, i.e. we were increasing the price based before on the month before, and then 4 months of red. We've had the 4 months of red. So the mindset shift has got to be not expecting those great, big, huge dips that we've been getting, because we're coming to the end of the bull cycle and we don't get those big dips as much, right? We may have one left to go at around 25, 30%, who knows? But also November in 2013 bull run, which is the year that we're following the most, there's a 451% increase, which could take us to 110,000 minimum. It could even take us to 350,000 or 69,000 if things go really crazy. So remember, we're watching this to see, like where we're at with that. So that's that. Shi Unu to finish with. Shi Unu is looking choppy. It's looking really choppy, but we've got a bit of a turn in the upwards direction, right? And we are looking at, like, ultimately with the bigger time frame, like this big triangle here that we've broken out of, come back down to retest as support, and we're just trading above that. We're looking at, is that double? That's almost triple the current price that it's at right now. No, double. Just if we go, it's
a nice trade.
It's a good
for
trade,
those of us spot trading Shi Unu. Yeah.
Or if you're buying and hodling and digging, burying and woofing and all that sort of thing, it's a good time, because we've been trading sideways for a little while longer, and now we've got some bullish momentum starting to come back in and heading up to the upside. What time frame is used for confirmation on the breakout? I use the 1 hour. What do you use?
I tend to use the 1 hour too, unless it's a huge breakout on a multi-month pattern, which sometimes those don't reconfirm. So in those cases, I look for confirmation on the shorter time frames, like the 15-minute or the half hour. Like when we back in May, when we broke out of the multi-month pattern, when Bitcoin was 9,000, I think that was a year ago, May. That one didn't reconfirm. It just went, and I think it reconfirmed on the 15-minute. So, some of those huge ones don't. Yeah. This one might not. This, like, if we go into a significant pump here because retail buyers are getting excited, we might not come back down to the all-time high as support here today. I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens personally. Yeah.
So what we're looking for, guys, are these market top patterns to show that we've reached the top of this and we could be heading down, and we want to get a little bit of weakness in the price action where we keep hitting resistance, and that's going to give us an indication that we're going down. But for right now, bullish structure, it's full moon. We usually go up and up and up. Look at this chart here. Down the bottom here, these little plum dots are full moons. Each full moon, boom, we got these big pumps, right? Big pumps. And full moon this year is in Aries, and Aries is a really bullish energy of fire. So when we get the new moons, that's when we usually get to the top of the market, and we start heading down for a bit of a correction. So that's not till it's not for a few weeks away yet, just under a couple of weeks. So we'll be following that on this channel. Also, we'll be following it in Discord, so join us in Discord. One last word, for those of you who didn't come to the Conscious Crypto event, there's 21 hours of training and learning and strategy planning with MMCrypto, Chris, DaVinci J15, the Bitcoin family, Didi Taihutu, also Michael Rosmer from Offshore
Citizen. Yeah.
And Emery. We did a huge amount on tax planning and making sure that you're putting everything in the right place and moving everything in the right place so that you don't end up losing all of your profits to the tax man and paying, tremendous taxes. lot of eye-opening stuff that we didn't know about how much the IRS can see and, you know, whether you're American or not. So that was really valuable. So there's value there in getting the replays, and you can ask questions in the Discord server. So make sure you check that out at theconsciouscryptoevent.com. Link is below this video for that. And then, of course, we've got my webinar next week on the mindset, because this is the time when people make stupid mistakes. They FOMO in, they get excited, they get all euphoric, and they forget to put in proper risk management. And 90% of people during this bull cycle, despite the fact that these numbers are looking astronomical and you could make really big profits, 90% of the people just, they lose it, right? Because they don't know what to do and when to do it. So that event is going to help you have that strategy put in place. And certainly the mindset webinar is going to get your head on straight for what you need to watch out for as we continue the super cycle. So that's it from me. We're going to see you next Wednesday, but we are uploading videos daily for tutorials. And I think that since we're going into the bull run, I'll try and do more TA a couple of times a day inside the Discord server. So if you want more detailed TA, you definitely want to join Conscious Crypto in Discord, and we'll take it from there. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah. So those of you debating whether to buy the recordings from our event, I just want to say, we know you've lost more than this on individual trades. The money goes to a good cause. We're using it to support our infrastructure fund here for our community. So it goes into road paving right now. And just take the leap, invest in your own education, because, you know, you want to be one of the upper 1% of traders. You got to invest in learning and educating yourself like the upper 1% of traders do. So, and I highly recommend Nicola's course if you're struggling with mindset at all, which we know you are. So all traders struggle with mindset, right?
Including me.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time. Until next time, guys. Trade consciously. Yeah.
Wow, we had 100